Welcome to a pivotal moment in the world of broadcast as we proudly present the Men's Mental Health Show featuring the renowned Larry Mabry in collaboration with the Maassen Group. This essential exploration of men's mental health wouldn't be possible without the invaluable support of Rainier Avenue Radio World. Now, let's dive into this crucial conversation with Larry Mabry and the Maassen Group. Your mental well-being matters. Here's Larry Mabry.
Hey, what's going on? What's going on, guys? It's so good to see you guys on this 12/9/2024, December 9th, 2024, as we prepare for the end of the year and kind of get situated for the Christmas holiday for those people who celebrate. So today, I wanted us to kind of venture into mastering your inner world. So let's talk about that. So for, but I wanted to kind of switch it up a little bit. So as far as mastering your inner world, it's about like kind of going intuitively and kind of going with the flow. And so I was talking to the engineer today, and I wanted to kind of surprise you guys and just bust out just a rap. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna do a impromptu rap, just to kind of hype it up. So we're just gonna go off the dome. All right, here we go. A is for awesome, B is for boss, C is courageous, D is defrost, E is for equal, F is for friend, and G is for going with the wind. H is for happy, I is for is, J is for jumping, K is for kids, L is for liking the rhymes that I make, and M is for making no mistakes. N is for nice, O is obscene, P is for price, Q is for queen, R is for rhyme, S is for seek, T is for time, and U is unique, V is for vicious, W is west. X is xylophone, and Y means yes. Now I'm almost finished. That means I'm through. And Z is for the zealous people just like you. Woo! Just wanted to hype it up a little bit, change it up a little bit. But let's talk about the inner world. Some people may say, well, what is that? You know what I'm saying? And I have this video I want to kind of show you guys for those individuals that know Neville Goddard. We're going to cue that up here. I want you guys to check it out, and we'll talk about it a little bit.
The area between you and the life you want isn't some external force, but the attention you give to the world outside of yourself. What many don't realize is that our energy, our most sacred resource, is drained not by effort, but by distraction. When we let our thoughts get caught up in the actions, opinions, and circumstances of others, we divert the very power that could reshape our reality. The world outside of you is simply a mirror, reflecting your inner beliefs and assumptions. So why spend your time analyzing the reflection when the power to change it lies within your own consciousness? Focus on yourself, your thoughts, your beliefs, and your feelings, because these are the real tools of creation. It's not through controlling the outer world that you manifest your desires, but through mastering your inner world. Every time you let your mind stray into the affairs of others, you weaken your creative force. Only when your attention is undivided, turned inward, and aligned with your true desires, will your manifestations take shape. Remember, everything starts and ends with you. Your experiences are merely the outward projection of your inner consciousness.
Wow, that's pretty powerful. I'm curious to see your thoughts on that. Mastering the inner world. And basically he's saying whatever we focus on the inside creates the reality on the outside. And the best way I can explain it is if you look at a mirror, right? Let's imagine you're standing in the mirror and you're the actual physical manifestation looking in the mirror. The mirror would represent the reflection of you, but the mirror will actually represent the reflection of the people outside of you. And so you standing in front of the mirror will represent your inner thoughts. And so I would say the last several years, I've been really pondering that, right? Like, so a lot of times, we get caught up with distractions, the game, this thing, that thing, what if we really, really like did a internal shower, right? We go out here every day. We take our baths, take showers. We make sure we're clean. But are we really taking care of ourselves emotionally, mentally, right? Are we doing the heavy lifting with the cleaning? Are we letting go of that old baggage and kind of making sure we're looking at things from a new perspective? And so I wanted to talk about that. How do we master our inner thoughts? Like, how do we master the inner person? And, I want to talk about that because there's been a lot of people that I've worked with, and I want to kind of bring them on the show and kind of talk a little bit about that. But what does that mean to you? Mastering the inner thoughts, right? The inner perspective. And for me, I would say I was at a point where I reached a pinnacle and I realized, you know what, I got to do something different. When you reach a part of your life which is so frustrating. And so the first thing you got to do is you got to like assess your situation, right? You got to do an assessment. And, you got to be authentic with yourself. You got to be honest, right? And say, okay, I'm at a point in my life where I'm not happy. Okay. So what do? You got to stop and say, okay, I'm not happy. Let me look at myself and make some changes. So if you out here rolling foul, right, whatever that means to you, by that I mean not being honest, being disrespectful, stepping on toes, pretty much doing what you need to do to survive, that's not really going to be the optimal level of being. And so the first thing you need to do is to be honest with yourself. That's the first thing. Second thing is you want to take a step back and work on one thing that you can work on, right? So in my situation, I took a step back and said, okay, certain people I needed to get out of my life, right? I needed to make some different choices. And typically it's those people that drain from you, right? You notice that when you go home, you're feeling tired, feeling lethargic, feeling like you don't have a lot of energy, or people don't really acknowledge you. You got to take a step back and say, okay, let me focus on my inner work. And I noticed when I started doing that my outer world changed. Does it mean it's perfect? Absolutely not. But what I did notice was certain pivots of things start changing. So for example, I noticed that rather than give my energy to certain people, I started spending some time with myself and giving myself some positive energy. Okay. What does that look like? Well, sometimes, we may have negative thoughts and things that we say to ourselves. It might be subconsciously, right? We may self-sabotage ourselves in certain regards because we're fear. Maybe somebody told us something and we don't want to navigate through it. We may have a block. First thing you got to do is acknowledge it, right? Take some positive steps forward. And every single day you have to do something within your inner world. A journal. I would advise you to get a journal. I spoke of the cognitive distortions in the past. For those individuals, you could reach out to us for that. And I could talk more about that. But looking at certain distortions or thoughts of thinking that's keeping you from your goal is really, really important, because once you see, well, wait a minute, I got these thoughts that's like keeping me from the prize, then you won't be able to get the prize. And so you have to kind of rewire your brain. But that basically means that you have to kind of let go of some things. And some of the things you may have gotten from your parents, you may have gotten from certain commercials, the community you grew in, certain thought forms that you got from other people, lack of confidence, embarrassment, frustration, anger, things of those natures, traumatic experiences. Those things can kind of get you off you focusing on your inner world. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, and I know it's going to be tough for some people, but you got to heal that trauma. Oh yeah, I got to talk about that. Sometimes, we have those areas of our life that is a little bit daunting, a little bit scary, a little bit fearful. And we have to really work on those things. Those individuals that I work with, they know there's certain types of things we work on. For me personally, I like to work on what I like to call the mental as well as the subconscious. And those individuals kind of reach out to me, and there's some things that I recommend, certain things to work on for that subconscious level. A certain type of meditation I encourage people to work through. And basically it's a Ho'oponopono meditation. For those people that don't know, it says these 4 things: I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, and I love you. And these are all positive, high vibrational things that you say. When's the last time that you really forgave yourself? When's the last time that you thank yourself for something you did? When's the last time that you really just was grateful, right? When's the last time you apologize, right? And so saying these things kind of puts up, I would say, a neutrality out there, so that you can see things from different perspectives and kind of create a situation where you can let things go You could be honest with yourself. Usually when you do that, it's going to be very powerful. So I recommend people getting a lot of Kleenex, right? Because you got to let go, you got to share some things. But this is you focusing on your inner world, right? And this is important because once you clear this out, then what happens is certain things won't trigger you, right? So as you're navigating in the world, you realize, well, you know what? In the past, I wasn't being authentic with myself. And so I was people pleasing. But once you heal that aspect of yourself, you're like, you know what? I'm going to focus on making sure I'm straight. And it's going to piss some people off. And that's okay. Because at the end of the day, who needs to be happy? You need to be happy. But what are you doing to make sure you're happy, right? And so it's important for you to work on that inner world. All right, cool. I want to give you guys a couple other things that we could do to help you work on your inner world. Mindfulness is really important. And basically what that means is, somebody says some things like, you know what, Larry, I noticed that, this situation, you did this and that, rather than be quick to attack that person, kind of take a step back and say, you know what, thanks for sharing that. That's an area of growth I'm working on, and really work on that particular area. If you're noticing that you're shouting at people or being rude, that's an area within yourself you got to work on. So you got to take a step back and do some self-reflection with that. Also, too, identifying limiting beliefs, because sometimes those beliefs that you had, they're limiting. And so you can only attract in your reality what you think. So some of those things you got to let go and heal and have a higher level of belief so that you can attract success and love to yourself. Another thing, too, is actively managing your emotional responses. That's really, really key. Sometimes we can be quick to respond or quick to react to a situation rather than be in a place where you're responding to a situation. So let me give you an example. So let's say that someone came in and they're like, oh, you know what? Someone hit your car, and you're so quick to just blow up. I'll give you a situation today. So today I went to the cleaners, picked up some garments, walked in there. The first garment the young lady put on there, it was a nice little suit. The button was missing. And so I looked at it, I said, oh, the button's missing. And she's like, oh, yeah. So if I were in a place where I was really upset or frustrated or feeling like, I lost something, then I may have responded with anger. But instead I said, oh, no worries. So I said, well, just can we replace it? And she's like, yeah, no problem. And so she happened to pull out some other buttons. Now, unfortunately, that particular button, it was a special button, and she didn't have that particular button. And so I said, okay, no worries. I said, what we can do is we can actually take, because I have some buttons like on the actual cuffling area. And so I said, well, why don't we take one of those buttons off and put it there so it matches, the go button, and then switch the other button to the little cuffling area. She said, it's a good idea. And I want to bring that up because what happens is when you're in a space where you're trying to respond rather than react, you actually have more energy to come up with really good ideas. And so what are you doing to kind of focus on that inner person, right? So how do you master it? You have to work on it every day. It's just like when you take showers or you're working out, right? You're going to improve when you work on it every day. Now, initially, it's going to be frustrating, and that's okay. But you have to keep pushing it. And you'll notice that you'll get stronger. And like I said, I want to bring some guests on, that individuals that I've been working with for a little bit of time, that their whole lives have changed. And then maybe you guys can ask some questions, or we can kind of talk about what are some things they've done to kind of change their life. And so, and it's like it happens over time, right? It's like a mind shift, but you prioritize your inner world. Also, too, I would say one of the big things too when you start focusing on your inner world is you'll notice that, I almost want to say, you'll notice an inner peace, right? How do I explain that? Well, what happens is you'll see things outside of you, but you'll just like observe them. Like you'll notice them, but you won't like be into that situation, if that makes sense. Right. And that's going to help increase your emotional awareness. And by that, you're going to recognize, you're going to label your emotions. You're going to notice them as they rise. You're going to allow you to better understand and manage them. So in that situation, when I expressed, I was a little irritated, right? Because I'm like, man, I really want that button on there. But I wasn't really upset. I just said, okay, well, let's figure out a plan to solve it. And she was really good to solve it real quick. Bam, no problem. And then we created a win-win situation, and I'll go back to her, no problem. And at the end of the day, I asked myself, did she do it on purpose? Of course not. um, and yes, you want to look a certain way, but at the end of the day, it's like you got to prioritize your inner world. Another thing too is, what type of talk are you saying to yourself? Are you saying positive things to yourself? That's really important. Being aware of your body, right? Are you slouching? Are you sitting up straight? Are you taking care of your body? You're doing certain things to kind of keep your energy level up. Very important. And the key component too is consistency. Got to be consistent. Also too, and this is something that I think as I talk to my clients, they really struggle with this, is self-compassion. That's a big one. And you may say, well, Larry, how are you being compassionate to yourself? Well, if you notice that, you're calling yourself dumb, or you're calling yourself stupid, or, you're having negative thoughts of yourself, then you're not really being kind to yourself. And remember, you want to start working on what you're saying to your inner world. So you have to start being kind, you have to start being understanding with yourself. Take your time, look at it like if you were to have a small child, and the child is learning for the first time. Wouldn't you want to be patient? Wouldn't you want to make sure you're, going slow, saying it a couple times, right? And you want to look at it from that point of view. And you'll notice as you take care of yourself, and I like to call it your inner child. For me, it would be little Larry, like whatever your name is, add a little in front of it. And so if you're looking at little Larry, if I'm talking about little Larry, well, little Larry's a small child, right? So he needs to be supported, you need to change the diaper, right? You have to look at it like it's a small child that doesn't know, right? And when a child doesn't know, you have to give it grace. You have to be very compassionate, very loving, very nurturing, right? And you'll notice as you start doing that, then you'll notice a switch outside of yourself. You'll notice that people will start being more nurturing to you. People will start being more compassionate to you. And of course, you're going to have those people out there that just don't care. And that's going to be what it is. But what you will notice is you'll find that you'll see a small different switch as far as the people out there. And they will match you to where you're putting within yourself. So really, really important. Okay. All right. So real quick, I wanted to talk a little bit about peer support. And so for those individuals that know, I talked about this before. I'm a peer support counselor, and I want to kind of reach out and post this. For those individuals that's looking for any support, you can feel free to reach out here. I represent King County peer support. There is a QR code there. You can reach out there, or if you want to send me an email at the Maassen Group 1 at Gmail. That's TheMaassengroup1 at gmail.com. Feel free to reach out. Definitely checking in. We just looked out for quite a few families. We're trying to get different resources. I realize right now, as we're getting to the holidays, people maybe need some support as far as maybe financial support or groceries or things of that nature, or just mental health. Feel free to reach out. And so I just want to kind of put that out there. So backed by King County. And so we're just kind of looking to kind of help people out, because I know this time of year could be a little challenging for some people. So, all right. Okay, let's go back. And so going back to what I said as far as your inner voices, right, or taking care of your inner self, reach out to me and let me know, are there some things that you would recommend or that you notice the importance of that? One thing I notice is the emotional aspect, right? So if you're out here and you're not emotionally balanced, what are some things that you think will happen? You probably won't be very successful as far as your job, or you'll notice that as challenges come to you, you don't really have the mental bandwidth to handle it. Okay. Another thing too is when you prioritize your inner world, you'll also notice that what you'll do is you'll build what we call emotional intelligence. Yeah, let's talk about that. Very, very important. And so because you are taking the time to kind of develop your inner world, your emotional intelligence will increase, your intuition will increase, and you'll be able to kind of pick up the vibe of people a little bit better and kind of navigate like individuals that you might need to say, you know what, I need a break from, or individuals that, you know, they actually pour into you, right? And so that's important, very, very important. And I would say that it would actually increase your quality of life, but also your mental health, right? If you're around people that are supporting you emotionally, if you're giving to people and they're giving back to you and it's a fair exchange, what happens? Well, that's a reciprocal relationship and that tends to support you, right? It's like if you sit on a chair and there's only two legs and you sit on it, what's going to happen? Shabam, you're going to fall, right? But if you have four strong legs, you know, though that chair would actually withstand the test of time because it's heavily supported. So think about that in terms of the mental support. If you are strong emotionally and you're communicating with a person that's strong emotionally and you guys are supporting one another, what happens? Well, you and that individual grow, right? But also too, you guys are supported. And so if you're looking for somebody, you know, feel free to reach out to us for that. Or, you know, you might need to look for another counselor or somebody to support you in that regard, right? But as you are developing your inner world, you'll notice that life will all of a sudden take a different turn. You'll see life from a totally different perspective, right? Now, the cool thing about this is it's not like a one and done type thing. This is like a lifestyle change, right? You'll notice like everything changes. But I would actually implore people to take a challenge with me. And so feel free to reach out and let's do a challenge. Let's do like a 7-day inner world challenge. And I'm curious to see what would happen if you were to do certain things for 7 days and just see if you would notice something different in your life. And I would guarantee that your life would not be the same after 7 days if you were to do an inner world challenge. You might say, really? Well, what does that look like? Well, some of the things I talked about. Well, first of all, being honest with yourself, positive self-talk, identifying those limiting beliefs, making sure you are having a positive self-reflection. And even if it's some things that's not too comfortable, right? Being honest with those things and then working towards challenging or tweaking those or reframing those things. Making sure you do some mindful type of things, meditation, walks, working out, making sure you don't judge yourself, right? That's a big one because I feel like sometimes we judge ourselves with situations and we have to practice not doing that because if we judge ourselves, typically we're going to judge other people. So we have to practice that. And if you came from a family where there's a lot of judgment, that might be an area of growth that you got to work through, right? Also kind of check in with yourself. So like if I were to ask you right now on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being, you know, you're feeling really, really, really good. 1 being like, I'm not feeling too good. How would you rate yourself? So you got to constantly do daily check-ins with yourself. You know, if you're not feeling like 7 or 8, you know, what are you doing to support yourself? That's important. And then when you are feeling pretty good, what did you do to support yourself? You might want to do more of those things. That consistency piece is important. Also, too, self-compassion, and then seek out some support, right? Sometimes you might need somebody to kind of help you see some of the nooks and crannies and the blind spots that you might not be aware of. Or maybe you might need some support for, you know, to have positive self-talk. That's really important. Really, really important. Okay, cool. So wanted to talk about that. Now, before because, you know, we're getting towards the end of it, I want to make sure you guys support my next guest, not next guest, but the next show she'll be on, Better Together and Living Powerfully, Dr. Tracy Harrell. So she's been really talking about some pretty cool things. So make sure you guys check her out. So she's on Mondays from 6 to 7. And for those individuals paying attention too, you'll notice at the bottom of the screen, you know, I have a guest that'll be coming on. He'll be checking out. We'll be talking about young men and young women, young men and older men, boys and men, basically. And make sure you guys check that out. He'll be on next week. Miss Blair Daly. Yeah, Blair Daly will be on next week. So make sure you guys check it out. I got a chance to kind of kick it with him a little bit. We talked about some really cool things. I'm looking forward to that show next week. He's really doing some really cool things here in the community as far as trying to get more resources for young boys and young men here in the community. And here we're about men's mental health, so I'm definitely in alignment with that. And he has some pretty cool stories to share next week, so I want you guys to tune into that. Okay. All right. So real quick, I want you guys to kind of let us know what you thought about today. Looking forward to hearing more as far as what you guys are thinking. What are some things that you think we need to talk about as we get closer to the end of the year? Do we need some different things with men's mental health? Do we need to bring different guests on? Reach out if you're interested too, and let me know what are some things, some contributions that you may want to communicate to the Men's Mental Health Show. I'm looking forward to kind of connecting with you guys. I know before, I want to say towards the end or the beginning of the year, I know we talked about bringing out a phone and maybe having some questions. Let us know as we roll up to this particular end of the year and the season. There might be some questions and some comments that people want to talk about. Feel free to reach out and kind of let us know what you think about that. I think that'd be kind of cool. I know we've had some people kind of reach out and show some love, so I appreciate those individuals showing us love. Also want to put a shout out to Rainier Avenue. Appreciate them allowing us this space so we can reach out to the community and just say what's up. Also too, as you guys are rolling towards the end of the year, I just want to say I'm grateful for you guys. I appreciate you guys chiming in every week. I appreciate your comments, and I'm looking forward to you guys having a pretty good year as we roll out this particular year. Okay. All right, guys, without further ado, I'm going to say deuces, and I'll see you guys next week. Peace.